Speaking there, well, I'm joined by our international affairs commentator, Doug Herbert. Doug, welcome to the studio. How might Russia respond to all of these developments?
We don't even have to ask how might it respond. We could say, how is Russia in the here and now as I speak responding? Russia is unbowed. It is unrepentant. It has no remorse, let alone contrition over what it has done. It is entrenched as ever in its narrative. On the military front, we see hypersonic missiles and talk thereof being used in limited ways for the first time on the battlefield. We have the army chief, the Russian army chief, Valery Gerasimov, boasting of the fact that in the past, recent weeks, 1,300 critical Ukrainian targets have been hit along what is an 815-kilometer front line. This does not show a Russia that our narrative would have it is in retreat, is licking its wounds, does not have any fight left in it. Now, it's true that Putin has been, in one sort of narrative, acknowledging that there have been challenges, notably with the mobilization of 300,000 Russians, as you remember back in mid-September. He's acknowledged some challenges and that it's been perhaps a little more difficult and then there have been problems that have arisen. Yet at the same time, we have heard an extremely, I would say, bellicose language and rhetoric in recent days from the top army chief and the defense minister himself, calling on Putin basically to up the number of conscripts from 1.15 million to 1.5 million altogether in the Russian army. This is a Russian army that is settling in for a fight, a big fight. No matter how many setbacks Russia may have suffered so far on the battlefield, whether we're talking about Kharkiv, Kherson, in Putin's narrative, in the narrative of his propaganda chiefs, of his government, his cabinet, Russia has not even begun to fight. Ukraine hasn't seen anything yet. They are just ramping up for a long winter war. And this is something that indirectly, at least, Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, has acknowledged. As far as in the media, in the propaganda, state propaganda, you have one of the most far-right and stringent talk show hosts in Russia, Solovyov, basically calling outright, this is a hawkish voice if ever there was one, calling for Ukraine to be destroyed, using the word destruction with regard to Ukraine. So the rhetoric is as fiery as ever, and the battlefield is gearing up as well.
And just focusing for a moment on that visit by Zelensky to Washington, D.C. I mean, it was a sensitive visit, a historic visit. Yeah. Did he achieve perhaps what he set out to achieve, namely to secure the support of Congress going forwards?
He's going home, perhaps, has gone home with a little more confidence that he still, at least still has the American political establishment behind him. The problem is this is 11 days now before the Congress basically changes hands as far as the majority is concerned, changes into the hands of Republicans, many of whom, obviously not all, we saw a lot of very, very fervent, staunch supporters of Ukraine who gave him a very, very rousing standing ovation yesterday. But there are cracks within the Republican Party, and there are a number of Republicans who are either outright refuse to write what they see as a blank check for Ukraine. They see Ukraine as irresponsibly spending it. They don't know where the money's going. Ukraine isn't even a treaty ally of the United States. Why are we throwing all this money at us? We should use that money back home instead on American interests, America first. That is a rising voice, Tom, right now within the Republican Party. Like I said, obviously not the whole Republican Party. For now, more Republicans than not are for solidarity with Ukraine on this issue. It remains what the Americans might call a bipartisan issue. But I do think Zelensky senses that this was a first and a last gasp to get in a plea. He had to be at once grateful for American assistance. It's been $22 billion since the war started, more than all of Europe combined in terms of military assistance, yet at the same time appealing to the America's political establishment, saying, is it enough? Honestly, it's not. He needs more. So making the appeal for more, he'd like tanks, he'd like F-16 fighters, he would like more Patriots. Is he going to get everything on his shopping list? Probably not. But he senses that he has to act now because the time is very significant. And like I just said, 2023, even if he can't say it politically, for political reasons, he is obviously worried about 2023 and what the Russians have in store as they ramp up their own military operations.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that. Our international affairs commentator, Doug Herbert, thank you very much.